I just washed myself with a bat. Oh honey. And I'm making some tea. So when I went to Japan years ago, I lived there, and my mother actually made me this, which is out of all this different wool and yarn, and it's sort of actually like this. Like you wear it as a little thing, sort of. Or you can also wear it as a hood, which I wore it quite a lot actually as a hood because it was so cold there that, you know, if you had a little hood, this worked quite well. And similar to now, it's so cold. But sometimes I also wore it like this, you know, just, or even I wore it like as a, how do you say, like over the shoulder, like this, like a wraparound, as if you could just sort of cover yourself, you know, in it. And then it would, not the most functional item of clothing, but then again, you know, very few items of clothing are purely functional, no? So it's like that. But see, and you sort of get this, yeah, it's a coffee bean. But yeah, you're on the floor, so you always get this sort of thing. But I thought I would start doing like ones where I start dressing myself for a little bit, because not many people dress like me. So it's like, this is how it's done. This one is called Vest, and it is very colourful. Actually, I was hitchhiking in Romania somewhere, and this old lady gave it to me. She said, "Oh, you have this one. This would look nice on you." That was vaguely Russian, actually, rather than Romanian. Sorry, Romanians. Let's not have a blood feud. But yeah, and then this, which is this is called a kimono. You might be familiar with the concept. You kind of go like that, and it's like that, and then you do like a really nice dance, and you have a puppet in Japan now. But in real life, as in every day here, what I do a lot is I wear something perpendicular off my shoulder, like so, like so, lovely, and then I can become a geisha. No, what I do is I have this, and this is really old actually, my god. But I love the bamboo sort of it, the colour, obviously, like the purple and the green, and my water's boiling, oh dear. Anyway, and then I would get it, and you can, I'm not sure if I go back a bit, yeah, like you can see it's quite long, quite long. So what you do is, I realised when I used to bicycle around, go on, we'll be in chat, with kimonos on. And then of course, because you can't have a normal colour, you have to have exciting neon pink. You can't have nonsense colours and brown and such. No. Nonsense. So you kind of let it look, it sort of looks like you've just like sliced open your guts and your guts is hanging out. But actually, it's rather, you kind of just sort of tuck it in a lot. They being the Japanese, tuck it in, you know, a bit like that, so it doesn't look so sort of hiri-kiri. But I am more hiri-kiri than Hare Krishna, to be honest with you. But that's just me, Tado, so yeah, and then obviously you put that back a little bit. Oh, the other side is white, so there you go, look, lovely. In sort of affinity with my skin colour. And then you have that lovely, oh dear, step on something else. And then you have yourself a little outfit, you know. Oh, I've got to put this on. Then you have the little outfit, and we'll come back to Mother's yarned goods. And then, you know, on your bike, and you're ready to go. Probably not in the blistering cold and the rain, but I mean, you know, if you're in a transitional season, you can do that. You know what I mean? So I found that another place to put The camera phone. Look, I got boiling water. Ooh, spicy. No, actually, it's not. It's just water. But my Earl Grey is running out, and I'm terribly depressed. Terribly depressed, my dear. I really love Earl Grey, you know. God. The problem with glasses is, because these are so heavy, I constantly have to push them up all the time. Constantly pushing them up. My whole life really is in practice for when I become a geriatric. In many regards, actually. It's a sort of just constant attempt to become old, but faster than actually sentience would allow and biology would allow. That's my general thing, I guess. One moment. I did realise as well that I need to get tea. Oh, tea. You can tell I haven't slept, eh? I was saying I need to get milk. La leche es sacra. Oh dear, that's painkillers. I feel like I've got something coming on, you know, like a cold or something. I'm not sure. I can't tell. You know, sometimes I can't tell what I feel, to be honest with you. Sometimes I'm hungry and I don't even know I'm hungry. And then someone's like, oh, your stomach's rumbling. And I said, oh, yes. just rumbling. I also attached this to myself. English fails me. Wow. Which is, it is, Indian. And it's, I don't know what you call it, Bengal. A Bengal. Taxi. But yeah, I need to get me out of my set. Let me out. Actually, as I removed my tea, that's a tea bag. As you can probably understand. I can't believe I'm showing these things. Okay, anyway, my tea bag. As I was moving it from the stovetop over it got caught in the grate of one of the burners, you know, that's where you put your pan, and then it just exploded in a sort of caffeinated fountain, and it was very sad, and so I had to redo my full, but that's alright. I'll go brush my teeth. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about social media. That's something I wanted to have a little bit of a thing about, a little bit of a talk about. One of my notoriously ignored monologues, and I wanted to talk about it because I realised that it's a narcissistic thing, right? Come on, I mean it's obvious, surely, that it's a narcissistic way of engaging, actually, and I think it creates narcissism. In the obvious, colloquial sense of what people call narcissism, but also in the sense of more the dangerous pathopsychology. You become, a complex narcissistic personality disorder, and I guess it's because of the fact that it's highly addictive, and that a lot of it is about trying to, how do you say, like relative positioning, like envy. It creates envy in essence because you get more likes. But how it's narcissistic is it's not just about like you getting more likes than someone else or more views or more whatever. It's actually about you do it with yourself. Like you make a video, like I've done it. You make a video or you have a post that everyone likes. Like you get, I don't know, 101 post or something, or one view, one video. And then the next day you upload something and you only get, I don't know, 50 or 20 or something, right? And I think that's how it becomes narcissistic, because you begin to compete with yourself. But I think it's that idea again, though, that's what have I written here? Yeah, well, it's like an echo chamber, right? I mean, that's unbelievably obvious at this point. And it's a kind of it's weird. It's like a trauma bonding, actually, in many ways, because um, you see like your idealized self reflected back at you through social media, and in that way, it's like narcissistic relationships. You know, like the person that falls in love with a narcissist is always a person who is on some level insecure, but sure, all of that. But more so, they fall in love with their own self because a narcissist sort of reflects back their idealized, like a self that they project out, they try to project out, and then he kind of, or she kind of, usually it's a he, kind of, narcissist, what do you say, like vindicates that, or he like makes it more strong, like makes it, it's like, yeah, no, you really are like amazing, and you really are all of this stuff, you really are lovable just in your sort of maladapted self, just the way you are. That sort of thing. It's this grandiosity, as I understand it. And I realised, yeah, social media is very much like this too, that it has this quality which is self-referential. And I mean, you could sort of sum it up by saying, like, it's not really social media you want. What you want is a hall of mirrors to walk through. You want reality, your life, whatever, to be a hall of mirrors. I mean, your ideal date, right, in a sense, would be that the person that you come on to the date with is wearing a full length mirror. It's actually that, like that. Honestly, that's the thing. And if you strip through all of the other stuff, but honestly, that's what you want. Or that's what it addiction. How do you say this? How it makes you addicted to um this way of thinking, this way of engaging. And I guess it comes into this idea that it's highly addictive, right? It is addictive, the whole thing. And in the same way that I don't think you can have a mild or moderate response to social media. I think it has to be total black and white, because it's like alcoholism. You stay off the bottle, and then you just have a sip. You know, you just take one drop of something, booze, right? Whatever. This is not booze, but you know what I mean. And then you just start. It's really difficult not to. You have to really pull yourself back by the reins. Otherwise, you fall into this addictive pattern, right? And I think with social media, it's even worse because of that other aspect. Like, you're not just, if it was alcoholism, you're not just fighting against the beverage itself, the liquid, the actual alcohol, but you're also in the social media, and so you're not fighting against an other. You're actually fighting against yourself, which of course you are an addiction anyway. Like, it's not why the addiction; it's why the pain that causes the addiction. But in social media, because of the relative positioning, it's a much more cybernetic. You can see it happening in real time. It updates itself. It modulates itself upon your inputs or upon you doing something in this way, and it's a feedback loop that sort of, in a way, regulates. Like an algorithm is a self-regulating feedback loop, which is cybernetic. Like that's what cybernetic is, from what I understand of it to be, and it makes you fall in love with yourself, and this algorithm, enhances narcissistic qualities which every individual has. Otherwise, you'd be dead. But it enhances them to a point where it's just not beneficial at all. It would seem to me. And so anyway, so for me, I think I'm very much going to pull away from social media. I mean, I already pretty much have, and I think with this YouTube, I also want to pull away from it. Only insofar as my own consumption of it. I want to continue to create a lot of things, because I find that too. Like, I don't need. I really don't feel like I need to be on stage. I really don't feel like I need to be out in these clubs. I really don't feel the need to be observed by others. I feel very self-contained. I mean, now that I'm sort of figuring out, as I said, like in my own process of, I realize all these truths about homosexuals, about bohemia, about the wild reality of people. And the more I realize, the less I want to engage with it, and I think I just need to go through that disengagement and then come back to it with a fresher perspective, with a way to actually handle it, deal with it. Because I think at the moment, I feel very sort of burnt out And as a matter of, in terms of all of these people, like I was saying in another video, the people of my design, or the people I'm making albums and music about, it's simply letting go of them as a memory, as a sort of, in a weird sort of way, of course, on this point of this video, a kind of reflection of myself, actually, a mirror that I held up to myself, and I fell into the mirror, like into a pool of mercury or something. Especially with Mika, funnily enough. I think I deluded myself because we were so opposite, you see, on every metric. Opposite. On all of the things. Class, race, culture, language, all of it. And so I think I sort of I didn't realise that's actually what it was. But of course, if you go on the proviso that homosexuality is automasturbatory. Auto. You know, I mean, it's self-masturbatory. It's a self-referential game. There is no other in this sense, in the psychodynamic sense, because you're just replicating yourself. I mean, there's another self, because of course it's another person, but in terms of the deeper aspect of it, it's not. You're just simply fucking yourself. It's just like if you had a clone, but it was different, from a different place and a different model slightly, but it's still you, because it's still got a cock. Just say, or whatever, or it does, not even that, it's more the mind, like you still have the masculine mind, in a way, I think. That which is evolved through biology and evolutionary psychology and dynamics, and coupled with, testosterone, in that sense. And the sex drive towards your own self. This is kind of the myth of Narcissus as well. Falls in love with his own reflection. Yeah. So it's like that, it seems to me. And so with social media, I'm going to make this music and things like this here, whatever else, but I'm just not really going to use it, because one drop and you crack open a bottle. It's really that sort of addictive, I think, actually, if people are honest with themselves. Because the rise in suicides, the rise in self-harm, the rise in what I call vice signalling, the rise in virtue signalling, the way that people are thinking and engaging is so envious and aggressive and lacking in nuance, and any depth, really. And it's not a health. I mean, it's just objectively, if you are on your phone hours and hours, more than 2 hours a day at least, more than even an hour really, then there's a problem, no? It's a form of, it's like gambling or something. Or, yeah, like drinking. You're doing it to give yourself a simulation of meaning, I think. Perhaps that's why I'm doing it too, so, I think the only way to initially disengage, because I remember the happiest I've been was when I lived without a phone in my early to mid-20s, so about 5-6 years ago. And I lived without a phone, and I wasn't working, and I don't think I had any benefits or on welfare. But I would do odd little things, but I wasn't like working every day or every week, whatever. Anyway, I was free, in essence, free. And yeah, you feel really good, because you can go around, you don't have much money, but you have your own, you can have adventures, you have your own feet, you have your own body, you can go somewhere, you can do something. And you learn just how to, I don't know, like become more like an animal in a way. Not an animal, but more instinctual. More, you go with the flow. It's much easier because you don't have a choice. You limit your choices of being able to meet someone out of the blue and this and that in that way, like over the cybernetic. But you meet them out of the blue on the street or something, and you go, oh, okay. You learn a shit ton about people and society and actual reality, not this projection, but actual reality. By throwing this away, this phone, computer, and yeah, engaging not in magical thinking, but in real thinking, in you know reality maintenance. You're able to maintain an understanding of reality. The average person, you know, and you heal a lot from your psychological anxieties or whatever, neuroses, because you're around other people and you just see that they're just as fallible and just as unsuccessful and just as whatever as you, actually. Maybe they're older or younger or whatever, but also you realize how much people bullshit, how much people are pretentious and all the rest of it. No one wants to be a failure. As I said before, like no one calls their offspring the name of a slave or something like this. They call them a king or a prince or in their whatever language they speak. But it's always like, my son's name is king. My son's name is not slave. Or my son's name is not servant or whatever or builder. It's these kind of things, right? And you think, yeah, but you're still a person. Like, you still go to the toilet, you still eat, you still, if you get cut, you still bleed, you still have emotions. Even psychopaths and narcissists have emotions. And so but yeah, I think we get lost in this quagmire of just worrying so much about our relative positioning. And even more so through social media and all the rest of it. So yeah, for me, you've only got one life. Why waste it performing a simulation for other people to judge you or compete with? Like to be envious of. I mean, I don't care. Why would anyone be envious of me? I'm very grateful for what I have, and I'm very lucky. But I mean, I'm just trying to be, rather than become anything. What the hell do I become? Like a bricklayer, or I don't know, like go and work in an office, or even there's nothing I really want to become, actually, and maybe that's a privilege and all the rest of it, perhaps, probably, to some degree, sure, but also it's just I think it's not that I didn't want to become something in the past, right? So it's more, no, I'm choosing not to. I would prefer not to, because I don't see the point. Ultimately, I don't see the point in spending all your life. The equation: you study for 20 years, you work for 40 years, and then you retire for another 20 years. That retirement, half the time you're in you're in a hospital or something like this, or you're not. Like, what do you do? Like, what do people do? Like, at the age of 70 or 80, they find themselves in the sense that they go, oh, actually, I was meant to be a ballet dancer, but I spent all of my life being a pig farmer. It's, well, sure, try it, but it's going to be very difficult in many ways. And I think that's part of, and also I think the ultimate privilege is this idea that you really think that you've got a prediction on living to that age. I don't think that of myself, that I'll reach 80 or whatever. It would be wonderful, probably, if I did, on some level, in some way, sure. But I don't believe that, like, I wouldn't bank on it, I wouldn't bet on it. So I'm not going to live my life as if I am going to reach that. Because, I mean, it's not even like a disease or something. I mean, you could get hit by a goddamn car, or a branch could fall on you from the bloody sky if you walk onto some trees or something. I mean, it's like not what happened to me, like, yesterday almost, you know what I mean? So it's not like this idea like, oh, no, it's more like memento mori. Like, it's period. Everyone's going to die. The prince and the pauper, they're all going to die. And I think that that's the thing. That's the ultimate universality, is that we're all going the same way. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't like bribe death with like gold. You can't bribe death with gold. It doesn't work like that. Of course, it doesn't work like that. And that's magical thinking. It's not even that. It's ridiculous. It's ignorance, actually. I think more than anything else. But anyway, so I think to myself, and I endorse anyone that watches this, just do what you want to do if you can within the resources that are available to you, and all the rest of it, the class stuff, all the rest of it. You know what I'm about in a sense. But don't keep up with the Joneses. Drag them down to your level. It's cheaper. Don't even think about your status anxiety like that. Think about you as an individual, and you're trying to fall in love with yourself, not in the narcissistic way, but in the self-regulated, as if you were your own mother or grandmother. You know what I mean? Like your grandmother always most of the time, for most people, they look for the best. They try to create safety and security and love, like a feeling of tenderness, trust, togetherness, truth. Like your grandmother will tell you more truth than your mother probably will, and it's that sort of thing too. There's a degree of separation, but I think at the same time there's also an intense togetherness with your grandparents, in that way. And I think in that though, you learn how to actually treat yourself at the end of the day. And I think that's what it means to like be efficacious, self-love, that's part of it. That's a much longer thing, which I won't get into now. But it's that sort of thing where you have to sort of go to yourself, okay, I'm going to treat myself like how my grandmother would probably treat me, and love yourself like that. Take your time, be soft with yourself, be gentle, don't be so critical and demanding and pummeling yourself, What's the point? What's the point? You just feel worse. It's you that feels worse. And then eventually you project it out like a venom, like a snake, because you want other people to feel a bit more shit like you do inside, but they don't. So you don't care. You're too myopic to care about other people in this way, in this subtle, more nuanced way, as it were, about pain. So you just share it because you can't contain all this pain that you've actually created for yourself. And I know this because I've done this. I'm trying to get through this pain, trauma, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for having a view of this one. It's quite a long one, my god. I'm going to make some music now. And brush my teeth. Anyway, thanks for watching.